I've only got a couple games on Purdy, what I've seen, but he's a really dynamic player, can run, can throw, very poised. Has really given them a spark, and the poise he plays with, the way he protects the football. He's a big-time talent, big-time player, and couldn't be more impressed with what I've seen from him so far.
Saturday, going up in a harsh environment like that to statistically one of the better defenses in the Big 12, and seeing what that defense did to Will Grier just a few weeks ago as well.
Yeah, they're all going to be tough from here on out. There's no question. We've had our struggles at Iowa State, against Iowa State. They've done a tremendous job against us offensively, defensively, special teams. So not just Bowman, but our entire staff, entire program is going to have to play a lot better.
What about that Iowa State team off the film really sticks out to you?
I think, they're really good personnel-wise. I think that gets lost. They've done a tremendous job recruiting there, tremendous job developing talent. They have great players all across the board that could play for anybody. And then you throw in the great coaching job that they do as a staff, and it's just a tough team to beat.
Montgomery had a huge game last week. What makes him such an explosive runner?
Yeah, I've said it since his freshman year. I think he's one of the best backs in the country. Very, very sturdy runner. The first guy never brings him down. You watched against West Virginia, a bunch of people are slipping on that field. He's the one guy who doesn't slip the entire game. Sharp with his cuts, can catch it, run it, is great in pass pro. So he's a dynamic, complete back, and he probably doesn't get as much credit as he deserves.
Does it kind of feel like their offense goes the way Montgomery goes throughout the game?
Yeah, I mean, he's a big part of it, no question. But they have, wideouts that are 6'6". They can go up on anybody and make plays. The quarterback's playing at a tremendous level. O-line is playing at a high level. They're well coached. So, like I said, I think it gets lost. So they have really good personnel, and that's a credit to that staff, developing those players and recruiting those guys.
Do you think this team is better built to slow down someone like Montgomery compared to last year with how you guys have done against Kansas, you did against Justice Hill earlier this year, just the different good running backs you've seen?
It remains to be seen, I mean, he's a really, really good player, and we've had our struggles against this team. So, like I said, we all have to step up as a program and play a lot better this week.
You talked about the – you talked about the – no, go ahead.
Guys like Keith Butler being 6'6", Matthew Eaton being 6'4", are they similar to TJ and Antoine, or how might they be different?
Yeah, I think, the similarity is that they take shots with those guys and give them a chance to make plays on the football consistently, and those guys always either come down with the ball or they get a pass interference call against them, it appears. So they're a tough wideout group because they have other guys in the slot that can make plays and then throw it up to those guys. They're a complete offense, and those receivers are really impressive to watch.
You talked about the defense on Sunday trending upwards, specifically in the secondary. You also talked about not really giving up big plays. What have you all been working on in practice to really eliminate those? Because you've been doing a good job of that.
Yeah, we had a bunch of them early on in the season, and so that has been the emphasis since those first few weeks. We're getting up huge chunk plays and in the run game and pass, and we just understand you can't do that in this league. You got to make them snap it again. You got to try and create turnovers and can't give them easy ones. And so that's been an emphasis on that side of the football. Yeah, he hurt his foot, so we're evaluating him, and we'll see where he's at. Still kind of in that remains to be seen category, whether he's going to play or not.
So if he were not able to play, would you bring back like a Tyler Carr, or would you go with that alignment that you had the other day where Trey was actually looked like playing that position?
Probably a combination of the running backs that we've been using, whether it's Trey or DeMarcus or Ward, and find it that way.
And I know it's been talked about. I don't think we've actually asked you about it, but you are trying to redshirt Tyler Carr and Braden Stringer and Quentin Yance, all those guys?
We are. That's the plan. In case something happens, and then obviously you have those 4 games that you can use.
Long question here, so bear with me. Regarding DeLeon Ward, is he still not 100% physically? Is he 100%, but has just fallen behind other guys with the time he has missed, or are other guys just outplaying him?
Yeah, we've just been, trying to get him full speed again since that injury. It's kind of a nagging injury, getting him caught up to speed with our offense, getting full speed in practice, practicing at a high level. So we're still working through that with him. and we feel good about those other guys playing.
So it sounds like you're saying he's kind of not the same guy that he was at the beginning of the year physically.
I think there for a while. He's been trying to get back to 100%, kind of a nagging little injury, and we got to get him back 100% before we feel confident get him back out there.
Coach, this team can obviously, you already mentioned there, they can throw the ball, they can run it. Where do they put the most stress on the defense, though? Is it more of a play-action type offense, or which one do they try to set up with the other more so from what you've seen?
Yeah, I think, when they're running the ball well early with Montgomery, and then running the QB now, he's pulling it, doing different things, and then the play-action, and then taking the shots. If you walk down on them, they do a tremendous job coaching and scheming you up. There's a lot of check with me's from the sidelines, and they tend to get them in the perfect play every time they do that. And so just been really impressed by the job Coach Campbell's done since he's been there, and their defense coordinator is one of the best in the game, really revolutionized the defense there, and they're playing at a high level too. So you got to give that staff a lot of credit.
What do you think has been the biggest contributor to y'all's red zone success this year? Is it more lengthy receivers? Is it that Clayton's back and fully healthy?
I think Clayton has a big, he's kicking at a high level. We were less than 50% on field goals last year, and that'll hurt your red zone. But those big guys making plays too towards the goal line are helping. But I think the biggest key is Clayton and our confidence in him.
Is TJ fully healthy? Is he still dealing with some stuff, or is he going to be ready to go?
We hope so. We'll see. He's still working through some things.
You've said in the past that you once dressed as Justin Bieber for Halloween. Is that something you might do again this year?
I'm not going to do that ever again. One-time deal. At a low point in my life.
Did Allen's injury have anything negative in Kansas game? Is he doing fine?
I felt like he was a little rusty early. You could tell his timing wasn't really stepping into his throws. A little antsy back there in the pocket. So hopefully, I felt like as the game went on, he was more solid and felt more comfortable back there. And so hopefully, he knocked the rust off. And moving forward, he can kind of start faster and play at a high level.
Do you think he'll be okay against the Iowa State quarterback? Think he'll do fine?
Yeah, I hope so. That kid they have is playing at an extremely high level. Doesn't look like a true freshman. Plays with a lot of swagger, a lot of confidence, and so we're going to have to play our best.
Is there any freshmen who are redshirting that are looking good behind the scenes, that players that we haven't seen yet that you think we'll start to know next year?
I think Xavier Benson is one. He's got a real chance, very athletic. He's kind of that rush position for us. Practices really hard, he's doing a great job on the scout team. Then Mark Brown, who transferred from San Diego State, has really come on as that DN position. So we go against them on scout team every day, and they're going to be really good players if they keep their head on straight and work really hard at it.
Speaking of that position, maybe reminded me, what's Tony Jones' status right now?
We're trying to get him healthy as well. We feel like he'll be available and hopefully ready to go for Saturday.
It's an interesting game for me. One, it was cold, but it's kind of close to my home, so it's great that some family gets to go out and see. But obviously, the last time we went there, it wasn't the best, and we know that. We've learned from it. So hopefully, this week we're gonna have a better taste in my mouth leaving that place.
Is a little part of you glad that it's an 11 a.m. game for the first time, so you can kind of get in there, get out, and not worry about the night of Ames? Yeah,
I mean that's always a thing. Playing on the road, playing at night. I think me personally, and then the group of guys we have, we're trying to not, when we play is not really an issue. We're trying to kind of go in with the mindset of no matter when the game is, we'll be ready to go. So.
And for y'all offensive line, how do you think the new guys have kind of worked in with the injury issues that y'all have had at that position?
Sorry, what was that?
Offensive line-wise, how do you think the new guys have worked in when they've had their opportunities with the injury issues y'all have had at that position?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the guys we have, we're all ready to play, and we've all taken reps at a lot of positions. So I think you said injuries, right? Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of depth, which is something we haven't had in the past, and having all that, and having guys being able to play like Dawson and Hines, and having Madison ready. I mean, that's helpful for all of us, because guys can swing and play multiple positions if needed.
How do you think just the offensive line has progressed going up against one of the best defenses in the Big 12?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a big challenge for us this week. We've watched a lot of film on them. We know what they bring. Their effort stands out, and I think that's why they're up there as the best defense, just by how hard they play. So our coach is really harped on finishing blocks and playing past the whistle with a team like this. So, staying focused with that is something we're going to have to, really harp on this week.
What have you noticed specifically about that D-line that could pose problems for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, they have a really good D-line. I remember last year their nose guard's a very good player. They have some length at the D end, so and also they have depth, so they have a really good unit there. It'll be a really good opponent for us to see how we match up well, but we're confident in our O-line, and I'm pretty sure they're confident in their D-line, so it'll be a really good game.
Cliff said that against Kansas, the running backs left a couple more yards that could have been gained on the field. How much responsibility do you guys take for that, and what have y'all been working on to help those guys?
Yes, we definitely left some opportunities there to get more yards. We all work together, the running backs and O-line, so it's really no one's fault. Kind of just knowing what was left there and trying to improve on that going forward, but knowing what we can do and could have done kind of hurts. So knowing that going forward, I think the O-line and the running backs will kind of be aware of that.
Well, you mentioned 2 years ago, but last year was frustrating for the offense as well. I mean, I know you've talked about how good they are, but what specifically have they done the last 2 years that have frustrated you guys so much?
Yeah, I mean, they've really got things going in the right direction these last few years. I mentioned earlier just how hard they play. I think that's the big factor. They're tough players. They're physical. They're trying to get one-on-one matchups and really see who's the bigger man. So I think that's the big thing that stood out these last 2 years. Kind of watching previous film and watching their games this year, I think that's the thing that sticks out the most.
From your perspective, what makes Ames such a difficult place to play? It seems like no matter who the competition is, where they're ranked, what Iowa State's record is, it's always tough to play there.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely is. I personally think it's the fans. I went to school out in Iowa for a little bit, so I know how those people can be. And I think it's a great atmosphere, especially in times like these. A lot of them are kind of shirtless in like the 20-degree weather. So I think just that culture and that atmosphere there, it's a great place to play, and it can be intimidating for some opponents.
Does the crowd there really affect the communication at the offensive line or anything like that?
I mean, how loud it is, just on the road, it's always something you got to kind of pay attention to, no matter where you play. Ames is always pretty loud, so really just kind of making sure everyone's on point and getting the communication across is definitely key. In a game like this upcoming week, at home, you don't really, communication's important, but it's easier to do when you got the fans on your side.
What will you be going on on Halloween?
Oh, jeez, I haven't even thought of that yet. I know last year you guys got me. I was a whoopee cushion one year, so I might bring that back.
So, Paul, did you ever try going shirtless in 20-degree weather? What is it in the DNA of the people up there?
Yeah, not anymore. Being in this Texas heat, I'm definitely lost. I've lost, being able to handle the cold. So I haven't, and I don't really plan on it either.
More serious question: how did you handle, last week or the last couple of weeks, I guess, being in the concussion protocol, and how do you feel like you bounced back?
Yeah, I mean, that was new to me. I've been fortunate enough to have none, in my career so far. So having that, it was definitely weird, but I mean, I'm feeling really good. I feel good about the whole process. The trainers here have taken great care of me and done all they can, and I think things are going pretty well.
From my stories that I've heard, everybody says it's real good. It gets real cold up there. Sometimes the grass freezes over, and it's like playing on icicles.
Have you ever played in that cold of an environment before?
I've never played in like an icy environment, but I played in real cold weather, real cold, and it was raining, so something similar.
So Halloween's coming up. What are you going to go as?
Ooh.
You've not thought about it yet?
Nah, I haven't thought about that one yet. I'll still think about it.
Adrian, what did you think when you found out you received that mid-season All-America second team recognition last week?
I was really surprised because I didn't even know I was like ranked high, like that high among other DBs in the nation. I had knew that I was tied for first in the interceptions because one of my teammates had told me after the game that they had counted it as an interception against TCU. I thought it would be counted as a fumble, but after that, I was like, okay, I was feeling good because I was tied, but I didn't know I was going to get second team All-American status or whatever. So that kind of shocked me.
Who all did you hear from, either phone calls or text messages or social media about that?
Ooh, on Twitter, I had got a lot of retweets, like quotes and everybody thanking me and telling me to keep doing what I'm doing, and especially like old teammates and old friends from back home. And then I had got a call from my mom about it because I didn't tell her. I didn't tell her when I found out, so she was a little upset that I didn't like come out and tell her immediately. So she gave me a little fussing about that. But other than that, I was just getting calls and texts from my friends.
How do the Iowa State receivers look to you on film? What kind of jumps out at you about them?
They're real big. They're real big guys. They're tall like T.J. Vasher and Antoine Wesley, but they also got some size on them too. Like them guys are like 6'6", 215, 220. So they're real big, solid guys. And then all of them guys can run. None of them are slowpoke guys. So really just the speed factor and then the size on top of that is something that stands out on film.
You mentioned TJ and Antoine. How often do you go up against those guys in practice, and do you feel like you got a handle on this because you go up against those guys?
Well, all spring I was going up against TJ and Antoine when he was healthy, and so like I was kind of to get a little used to the size factor and having to play through those long arm guys, and then going into fall camp it was the same way. So I mean, it's kind of a little bit of a at-home thing since I see them guys every day at practice, but those guys are also a lot heavier than TJ and Antoine, so that weight factor will be a little different.
You guys were harping on giving up those big plays. In the last couple weeks you have. What have you been working on specifically in practice to limit those?
Well, in the passing game, we preach never let the ball go over our head. So we try to make that a main focal point as far as the passing game is concerned. And with the run game, we try to make sure in every play call that if it's a gapped out defense, then we make sure we're gapped out and we do our assignments. And make sure that if we get a hand on them, if we get a chance to make a tackle, then we wrap up and get them down.
Against a guy like Montgomery, in the secondary, do you have to be more aware of what he's doing than other games?
Yes, I would say we have to be more aware because that's a smart running back. Not many running backs play the way he does. So with him being as smart as he is and also as physical as he is, we have to make sure that we know what he's doing and how he's doing it.
Is one of the biggest problems being in the secondary the play action with him, since he's always a threat? You guys have to be able to tell what schemes they're in, or how do you usually defend against those type of plays with a back like that?
Well, I'd say that's more hard on the linebackers, since those guys are mainly have a run fit rather than the secondary. But with us in the back end, we make sure that we have good eye discipline, make sure that we keying on what we need to key on, just for man coverage, and make sure we're keying on our mans, because one small mistake in the back end is detrimental.
Obviously, with 2 large games kind of looming in the next couple of weeks, how easy, difficult is it for you individually and for y'all as a team to kind of stay focused on that week by week and not get caught looking forward?
Well, we try to make sure that we're always on top of our game. We don't want to get complacent because complacency is a big issue for success. So if we get complacent, you know what I'm saying, it can go downhill real fast. So we just make sure that we're always like on top of our things, you know, and make sure we stay focused in the long run. Because at the end of the day, every team wants to win the conference championship.